You've spent an entire career fighting fires and rescuing the injured, sick, and dying. But that's all over now. What do you do when the sirens stop, you've hung up your gear, and you walk out of the firehouse for the last time? What do you do with your life when the smoke clears? Welcome back to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. I'm Russ Miles. I'm here with Tony Ben Cosme. Thank you again for joining us as we sit down to talk with someone who has spent their career in the fire service and is now living life on the other side. Thanks again for everyone who has supported us, whether it's buying our merch or just giving us an encouraging word or donating to us through the Buy Me a Coffee link. We really appreciate all of the support that you guys give, and we want to continue to give you guests who share their stories, and hopefully you all will be able to take something away from something they have to share. And so with that, Tony's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on today, who we have with us.
Yeah, thanks again, Russ. I want to thank everybody for listening to us again. Like I said, it's a pleasure putting these things on, and we're getting a lot of good feedback. I'm glad we can still put some good content out there for you, content, for you to take in and to get something out of. Also, I want to mention again, Buy Me a Coffee is a new thing that we're trying to roll out to get to pay for some of the expenses it takes to keep this show rolling. Anything you can give us on Buy Me Coffee to donations would be greatly appreciated. And we also have our swag website to get T-shirts, hats, cups, and whatever. And that'll be in the description in the bottom of the link on YouTube. So once again, thanks again. So our next guest, this guy's been through a lot. He's a sharp guy, a real good dude. We worked on and off together, 15 years combined, and with Montgomery County, volunteer and career time over 30 years. He was stationed at Station 6. He was part of the SET team. That's a special evacuation tactical team. He was part of the PSTA as a driver's trainer, worked as an instructor at the academy. He's from Montgomery County, one of our own, through the high school cadet program, coming out of Damascus High School, and was heavily involved in a burn camp. So without further wait, I want to welcome our next guest, Marshall Moneymaker. Thank you for coming, Marshall.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you again for sitting down with us. I know you've been a supporter of ours for a while, and we appreciate it. And I know you've got an interesting story to tell, to say the least. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you.
No, I've been listening to you guys from the beginning, man. This is really great what you're doing. I hope you continue this and really get it out there.
Thank you, man. Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll start from the beginning. So tell us a little bit about where you were born and what was life like growing up for you.
So I was born in Holy Cross Hospital. My parents lived in Rockville Twin Brook till I was 5. They bought a house in Damascus, which we moved there, and I spent the majority of my life right up to about graduation in Damascus. Very poor. My father worked construction. When he came back from Korea, he actually got a degree in dry cleaning and started that, but he ended up in construction. And my mom would work sporadic things, but you know what? We made it. My father was there. He struggled with alcoholism. My mother struggled with mental things that later in life I discovered. But you know what? They did the best they could do. I hope I made them proud.
All right.
Yeah, man. I'm sure. And especially with parents who are really working hard to try and make things work for their children. I mean, a lot of times they put a lot of their needs to the side, or they deal with stuff that is going on with them and maybe not the healthiest of ways. So I'm sure you've made them proud.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So coming up, you said you grew up in the Damascus area. And you went to Damascus High School, correct?
Yes, Damascus Elementary. John T. Baker Junior High School at the time is what they call it. I guess it's middle school now, and then Damascus High School.
Okay. So what was life like at that time, like up in Damascus? Like,
That's country. That's
yeah,
country.
it was real country. I remember when they built the McDonald's. Yeah,
Literally
we
one
were,
street light.
yeah, we were out there. A lot of kids, joined FAA. When we did get older and we could travel, we would actually, leave Damascus and go to Gaithersburg to the mall to hang out because it was so rural.
Wow.
And there's a couple times, as we got older, the cops would kick us out of Gaithersburg. We go to Rockville, hang out, and they kick us out of Rockville. We go back to Gaithersburg, and didn't we just kick you guys out of here? No, that was somebody else.
Nice. All right. So how did the fire department come into the picture? Like, how did you first learn about the fire department?
So, excuse me, I had an uncle who was one of Rockville's first career people. I found out later in life, he actually started in Bethesda. But yeah, he was one of Rockville's first career people, Uncle Jimmy. And when we lived in Twin Brook, down off Veers Mill Road, they say he would come by when I was a baby and a kid and, do the thing, put you up on a fire truck and spoil you and those kinds of things. And that the story goes that every time I was asked, what are you going to do in life? What are you going to be? And it was be a firefighter like Uncle Jimmy. And then, of course, you heard how boring Damascus was. I had a good friend, Bruce Surratt, went to school and actually the cadet program with. We grew up playing emergency on our bikes, running up and down the streets, doing that whole thing, imitating the show Emergency. The difference for me was everybody wanted to be Roy and John, and I wanted to be Mike Stoker, who, drove the engine, who I actually got a chance to meet later in life. So it was cool. So
wow.
I guess that those were the two influences, probably Emergency, the biggest one, because I was older at 5 and actually started absorbing that kind of stuff. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that show has been so influential to so many people coming up around that time. Cause I mean, there was nothing like it. Like,
right. TVs, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all the stuff we have now. TV was it, you went out and played until it got dark and you went in and like, oh, my show's on. I got to sit down with my, and watch. So.
Absolutely. So for you younger people out there who have no idea what we're talking about, go and find the show Emergency and stream that and binge watch that because it is awesome.
There should be some old school channel on there they can find. There's a million of them.
It's out there, yeah.
Yeah, compared to the 5 that we had or 6 channels that we had.
Yes. All right, so you were kind of getting some exposure down in Rockville, getting to watch Emergency, and so how did the cadet program come about?
So I heard about it in school, obviously through teachers, all the people that help you in school. And I applied. I put in for it. And at the time, I don't know how much different it is now, but basically at the time, the way the cadet program worked was, by the time you get to junior or you're junior or senior, you have most of your credits done. You may have like 1 or 2 where you come in the morning, and then in the afternoon we would leave and go to the cadet program, or other students would go to like work type thing. But at the time, it was divided between the academy and the fire station. So we would have days that we would report to the academy and actually get essentials. Well, at the time was Fire 1, Fire 2, those types of things. And then at the fire station, we were supposed to be under, the guidance of whoever was there to administer the program at the fire stations at the time. I was Damascus's Company 13's first cadet, Montgomery County cadet, which in a way was an honor, and another way it was a bad time in my life where I didn't really get where I wanted to go, because I didn't really have the what's the word, the supervision I was looking for, word. But I mean, some great guys came out of that program. Mike Slater, Chuck Early, Carl Mooney, Jeffries, me. I want to say Danny Isaacs. All of us got hired in the county eventually at some point. So
Okay.
that program prepared us for the career of, of being a firefighter. And with that being said, my first patch I was ever given was a Montgomery County patch. One of the administrators was a volunteer at Damascus, and he worked at the academy. And he took me down to the basement, gave me a paramedic coat. I had to take the paramedic patch off, but it had the Montgomery County patch on it. So I've at that point, looking back now, at that point, is even though I didn't get a paycheck, it's when I started my career is the way I feel. So, yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. What year was that? What year was that you was in the high school cadet program? Do you remember?
83, 84.
Okay.
Yeah. I joined in 82, I want to say the summer of 82, because I wasn't able to drive or anything like that. But I joined then and started working my way. And I had some great influences. Don't get me wrong. Curtis Poole, dear.
Oh, yeah. Good, real good captain.
Believe it or not, he used to take me around. He had a little Toyota pickup truck, and we'd drive around. He'd let me drive to help me when I was on a learner's permit to help me get my driver's license.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
We took a dip in the neighbor's pool once or twice, after hours when they were out of town. So Curtis, looking back, I owe Curtis a lot. Dale Browning, he retired from 6. A lot of guys, the Runkles. You may or may not remember those names, all Bethesda guys. McElfresh's father, John McElfresh, and I were actually in recruit school together, but his father worked at NIST, and he taught me one of the fundamental things that we do as firefighters, and that's hose management. He came in one day, we hooked the hose up to the wagon. He started pumping it, and he would raise the pressure, lower the pressure, and he says, you're going to wash the apron. You're going to do it all by yourself on 1.5 inches. And he basically, would kink the hose. He would make me go around the truck and get it caught and have to pull on it. And I mean, just that simple exercise of hose management was something that stuck with me for a lifetime. Because if we can't get the water to it, it's not going out. And that's
true.
One of the things that I tried to pass on, but it was a great teaching lesson there. So
nice.
Yeah, no, nice. That was real good. So you're how did you get hired in Montgomery County? So you're a volunteer. How did that go, and when did you decide to make it a career?
So it took me a while. What had happened was the downside to it was, in the beginning, it was a great program for me. But because it was an all volunteer house, a lot of the guys just didn't show up to give me any supervision. And I would literally just sit around the firehouse at times by myself, and a young kid, idle hands and idle mind. I got myself into some trouble, just doing stupid things. I will bring this out to public. I haven't told too many people this, but I also had a predator who was a janitor at the elementary school, and he tracked me down and took advantage of me in the back of the firehouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that is shocking.
Yeah, so I would hide. I would try to get the heck out of there. And of course, once I got a car, I was gone in and out. My parents, they moved my senior year of high school to Georgia, and worked it out with the fire department that I could be a live-in. And because of what happened to me, I didn't want to be there. I scammed. So I became a drifter, lived in my truck, those types of things. But I was still in a program. So I left there and went to Laytonsville Station 17 because they had career people. And career people, actually, I had that guidance. It was just unfortunate that for me, being the first in Damascus, it just didn't, the structure, the infrastructure wasn't there, and it didn't work. And I ended up, because I was bouncing around and living in bunk rooms and, working a week here and getting a new job and working a week there, I was hungry. So I ended up stealing from Damascus, stole some things on an account to, sell to my buddies to eat. I don't condone it. I'm just explaining it.
No, you're good, man.
So all that affected me. And then, like I say, I dropped out of high school. I did pay Damascus back. But I dropped out of high school, did odd jobs. Now I'm at 17, living in the bunk room on and off. Back and forth. I met a girl. She was going for her doctorate in psychology, and she had to do her internship in Virginia Beach. So I went down there for a year. And at the time, Virginia Beach had just switched over to predominantly career, but they had a system where they did it right. The volunteers went to them and said, look, we have this, we have this 300 volunteers, $200 or 300 or 400 volunteers. Excuse me, this is my stutter catching up to me.
No, you're good, buddy. You're good.
No
Keep going.
worries.
You're doing good.
We still want to participate. We can be a good resource. How do we make this work? And what the city did was set up a volunteer battalion. Individual corporations, but you were part of the city. I went through Essentials again, down there through them. I chose to ride at Station 16, which had an engine and a tower. And every B shift, I was there that I could be. So I would go to work as soon as I get off work, and it was B shift, straight to B shift. If it was a weekend, a holiday, I was hanging out with them. And that's when I knew that I wanted to be a career firefighter. The guidance of being under that shift and being welcomed into that shift really, really drove it home for me.
Okay, so you were down. You said you got your second thing. So are you back in the county at 16? You talking about 16 Montgomery County?
No, this is all in Virginia Beach.
Okay, Virginia Beach. All right, so you're in Virginia Beach, and you're there at their Station 16.
Correct.
On the B shift, and they have 3 shifts.
Correct.
And then that's where you got to really
right.
You got
the only difference between, and I was a volunteer. The only difference between a volunteer in Virginia Beach at the time was a lie detector test, a paycheck, and a rocker that used to go under the city patch, which most of us we ripped the volunteer thing off. And there was another guy, Jack. So I predominantly rode the tower. He predominantly rode the engine company. And that's where I got a lot of my truck experience from, was Virginia Beach.
Okay.
But being part of that family is what solidified it for me. And the girl I was dating at the time, she encouraged me to go to high school. So I went back to night school and actually got my high school diploma.
Okay, good.
And Tony, you might remember this. I think this is a little early for us, but after class 10 here in Montgomery County, around that time frame, I want to say it was 3 or 4 years, 5 years, we couldn't buy a job.
No,
you couldn't do it, man. Nobody in the country was hiring.
Nobody was hiring. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I took tests for Austin, Texas, and they had 1,500 applicants for I think 25 positions. It was the same test. I think I scored, I want to say I scored a 98. You got extra points for a minority. You got extra points if you're a female. You got extra points if you were military. And I was still in the high thousands as a candidate. I mean, it was a rough time. Yeah. I mean, if anybody was hiring, it was 2 to 25 positions. It
wasn't much. No.
In fact, the class 10, like Tommy Grant and them, they were the rookies forever. They felt like so. Because there was nobody behind them,
Yeah.
Right.
But that year came and went, and we decided to move back to Montgomery County. We had since, as we move on, our relationship grew apart. So back to the firehouse, back to the bunk room.
At 17 again?
At 17 again. Started getting all my classes. I got EMT, trucks, pumps, all those types of things. I actually made it to the rank of master firefighter as a volunteer. Again, just trying to fill myself with as much knowledge and build that resume, because I knew I wanted to get hired. Montgomery County was my home. I always wanted to work in Montgomery County. And then they hired again. They started hiring again. They hired for class 11. This was around 98.
Mm-hmm.
98. And I was picked up in class 12. And when I got the phone call, Debbie Shaw was, I was like, yes, I want the job. She's like, Marshall, I haven't offered it to you yet. She's finally like, you knucklehead. Yeah, you're going to start this date, blah, 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 blah. And back it up a little bit. When I was a high school cadet, Wayne Shaw actually took me in on my first working fire. He put me on the nozzle. It was a vacant house in Woodfield. We went upstairs and we were getting it. We were actually, I don't know, cliche, slaying the dragon, and of course pulled us out. So it was Wayne Shaw to put me on my first line.
Oh wow! So you do your crew class, you do your crew class 12. Where do you said you get sent? I think you mentioned you was at 15. You go to 15 as you're right out of probation or for probation.
Yes. So when I got out, we put in our choices, and I believe it or not, mine was 6B, 6C, 6A, because I always wanted to be on a tractor drawn aerial. I always wanted that. I did so much time, 15, 16 years in the country. I wanted the other aspect of it. I wanted to be in the high rise sector. I wanted to learn that end of it, and then, try to be all around. But yeah, to learn that truck, man, it's, I think it tugs on everybody's heartstrings. But yeah, I got sent to 15. I was under Captain Moody, great influence.
Captain Moody. Yeah.
And of course, I joined the SET team, which was the predecessor to technical rescue. So ropes, swift water, helicopters, all that stuff. And, so I had that going for me. I was also a driver for pretty much just about every breed of apparatus there was, with the exception of like the tractor drawn aerials, tower. Well, I was driving on the Quint as a volunteer, and that carried over. So believe it or not, I was sent out to drive when I was on probation, and some guys were, man, I ain't happy about this rookie coming up here to drive our squad, man.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs were like, no, go for it. Put him out there. So, and then an opportunity came. I was actually extra. An opportunity came, and I put in for 6. I got 6C. Went down there with Buzzy Brand.
Yeah.
Ran. In fact, my first day, I went down early and said, hey, is there anything you guys want to give me a streets book? I can start learning some streets or whatever. No, just show up. First day, I'm driving a wagon. I know Wisconsin Avenue.
Wow. I know how to get there. Yeah.
Got my truck, got checked off to drive the truck there. And then it was the life on the road. You know how it goes, guys. You spend the majority of your career bouncing around doing everybody else's station but your own. So
on that detail trail.
You know what? Hey, A2's the worst you can do to me, man. I could be homeless in my pickup truck. So give it to
me. Perspective. So after is that where did you go on any other stations besides 6 and 15?
No, I wasn't assigned to any other stations. I was assigned to other work sites like CMF, and I helped set up the warehouse when we moved it over to Dover Road. So I did a stint there, but the only stations I was assigned at really was 15 and 6.
So CMF, before you obviously, Marshall, you predate the actual CMF. We didn't have a CMF, a central maintenance facility. All the apparatus was maintenance was taken care of at the corporation level.
Correct.
And so there was one station in each corporation that took care of all the maintenance for the fire trucks, the ambulances, and all that.
So for me, because Craig Ferguson and them were in 6.
Yeah.
I'm a product of Montgomery County schools. They didn't find out that I was dyslexic until 11th grade. And of course, everything leading up to that was I couldn't keep up with the class I was supposed to be in because I was dyslexic, but they would put me in the special classes. And of course, I was way too advanced for them because I was smart. I just didn't know, but it was a teacher in 11th grade. So all this stuff, again, I think shaping who I was or affecting who I was. I struggle with depression. Growing up, I never had any self-esteem. I was always told I was never going to be anybody. I was never going to make it. I was never going to, whatever. My name, Marshall Moneymaker. So I'm Marshall P. Moneymaker. I was named after my grandfather. And I actually, believe it or not, had an uncle who wanted the name for his son, but my father got the opportunity to use it. And he told me, you don't deserve that name. So all this stuff that's going on, I think I'm not an expert by any means, but I think all this stuff is, creating who I am. But the one thing, guys, I was good at was taking the radio apart, putting it back together. so I'm very mechanically inclined. So firefighting came natural to me. I was just really good at it. And that's the one thing that I actually saw in my father's eyes, because he would actually take me down to the station when the house siren would blow. That was the one thing I could see in my father's eyes, that I felt like, yeah, I'm doing this well. And, he's proud of me. So my point is, with Craig and them, and, being mechanically inclined and helping Craig down there and those types of things. And of course, knowing my unit, I knew every nut and bolt, wire, hose, belt, you name it. I knew it on that ladder truck. I was the guy underneath of it, literally inspecting everything. So yeah, having those mechanics there, hey, show me how the disc brake works on these trucks, or show me how this tack force suspension works on these trucks. So having them in the station was great. And then also what they did is, for my collateral duty, they put me in charge of small tools. So, and I did it for 6, 20, and 26, and sometimes 7, everything from lawnmowers, chainsaws, you name it. And I got to give Chief Lenny Chief Lenny Fitch props. Russ, I think Tony might have been the same. My first day out in the field, we were called to the ops chief, and he sat down and he basically told us told us what he wanted from us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he said was detail. He says, in your career, always look for the detail. Be detail oriented, detail. And that stuck with me, because that's the kind of person I am. When I said I knew my truck, when I did my probationary packet, I hand drew every unit in station 15. All 4 sides, the top, every cabinet. If the toolbox had 3 residential wire nuts in it, I put 3, residential electrical tape. The types of different heads for the hooks. So you have a pipe pole and you have a New York hook, and I could tell you the difference between all of them. That's what I mean by detail.
Mm-hmm.
Working on the fans and those things. I would have other stations call up and say, hey, you told us one time, station 10, you told us one time about turning the gas off on the fans when they're on the trucks. Yes, the manufacturer said so, because Hondas were notorious for having gas leak past the cylinders and getting in the oil and ruin the oil. And I would produce the manufacturer's thing on it and give it to them. So that's what I mean by the detail. And by having those mechanics there, really helped me grow with that kind of stuff.
All right, cool. So you helped put CMF together. I remember that huge facility now.
I really wasn't part of it, setting it up. But when I got injured later, I spent about 1.5 years there helping with parts and those types of things.
Okay. That sounds good, man. You were involved in a lot of stuff there. Yeah. So you're at 6. I've only known you as a driver on the truck. That's all I've ever remember you. Right, you drove that thing everywhere, man. You were everywhere with that thing.
So I was actually fortunate to have good officers: Dave Polikoff, Mike Close, Jeff Williamson.
Yeah.
Those guys that they like the guys in the same positions because we became really good at what we did. What is the continuity? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, continuity.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Just like Tommy Grant, he was a big wagon driver. He was always on a wagon, and Tommy knew his job. He knew his position. We would move around. There were times we wouldn't, but yeah, we stayed in those positions, and we were really good at it. And it was one of those deals where it was one of those situations, because we were kept there and we were so good at it out on the street. Even like guys at 7, you guys. You were there on B shift. And those were some decent times, man. We challenged each other. Hey, man, 7's going to be us in there. We got to be on our game. But you guys also, I think I can say this for you, Tony. You knew that when 6B was coming in, hose was hitting the street and gear was on and buttoned up. Yeah. It was for nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And as those guys promoted to chiefs and things, and the dynamics changed, and you guys promoted and moved on, it seemed like it came down to 6B was taking care of 6B. You know what I mean? Some of that dynamic had changed because we didn't have that, the other companies pushing us or holding us accountable.
Shifts changed and stuff, but I always known you as a real good driver. You drove the tiller a lot. So how did you get involved in driver's training and getting up to the academy? How did that happen?
So again, being very fortunate and having Captain Jeff Williams as my officer. I think you remembered. Russ, were you there when they turned over Tower 8 and high speed turn?
It was that was right before my time.
Yeah, Tower is involved in a nasty accident. Yeah,
the accident, and Chief Bauer. No, it was Chief Carr came to.
Carr,
yeah, to Captain Williams. He actually already had most of it written down and actually, on paper. And he said, "Look, we got to rethink this." And basically, Captain Williams threw everything out the window, and we started from scratch. And it started with everybody coming back to the academy and doing an EVOC refresher in the breed of vehicle that you drove. So the ladder trucks had to go through it, the ambulances had to go through it, all of that. And because I also had commercial driving experience, and I guess maybe Captain Williams saw that I was that detail oriented, he approached me and said, "Hey, I want you to be part of this if you're interested." And then as one of the instructors, I got pulled into that, and we sat down and we revamped the entire system. And again, I've been out of touch for 11 years. I don't know where it is now, but we set it up so that when you came to an EVOC course and you left as a wagon driver, or you left as a tower driver and you tested out, we knew that you knew your job and your position.
Yeah. And I think I'm not an instructor for driver's training, but I'd say it's pretty much like that too. Like the process is very in depth. You have to show that you are competent in a whole myriad of skills. You have a lot of evolutions that you have to go through to show that you can operate, whether it's an engine company or it's the tools on the truck or the ladder on the truck or the tools on the squad or whatever it is. Like, it's a pretty rigorous process to show that yes, this person is ready to drive. And then you come up and you take the test and they put you through all of the practical evolutions again. And so, yeah, once you are officially signed off, like, yeah, you've been through a lot. Like, it's a several month process.
So, and man, I would say real quick, I might say, so if there was a specialty within that as instructors, mine was actually the DOT inspection. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how it became a game again. I'm gracious that it did, but I would lead. Me and Pat McTire would lead a lot of the DOT inspections, where we would teach these guys, hey, you're looking for this in a belt, you're looking for this in a hose, you're looking for this in a tire. And again, that detail orientation, the detail.
Mm-hmm.
This is the date on the tire, and this is what this means, and this is how you interpret it. Those types of things. But I would be in class and be, all right, show me, go to it, and they would try to basically just regurgitate the material. And it's like, nah, I can teach my golden retriever to regurgitate the material. Show me where the air compressor is. Sorry, man, that's an alternator. That's not an air compressor. Go back and learn it again. Hey, and the guys left there, we held them accountable. We made sure that, they knew and they got their hands dirty. You cannot do a DOT inspection on a fire truck, on anything, and not have your hands dirty. It's impossible. And if you come out from underneath the rig and you're clean, get back under there because you didn't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, so I've got a story about that. So how I got to know you, Marshall, was when I was working at Company 12 as a Fire 2, and we were getting a rookie, and he was down at Station 6, and Station 6 had worked out a deal with Station 12 on my shift, 12B, where I could go down to 6 and do my engine driver check off, and their rookie could come to Station 12 and do his ambulance check off because Station 6 didn't have an ambulance. So I go down there and I get to meet Marshall, and I get to meet several other people that you mentioned on 6B, Tommy Grant, Chase Fabrizio was one of the masters down there at the time. Brian Vane was the other master. I believe it was Ken Crutchley. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Crutchley,
Ken Crutchley.
Lieutenant, and he was there for a long time. He was very influential.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I
Dana
remember.
Evans, she was there. Yeah.
She's there now. She's back there now.
Yes. And so I remember being underneath that wagon of tilting the cab and putting my hands on all types of stuff, and yourself and Tommy Grant and Brian and Chase, and you all made sure that I knew what I was doing with that engine company. And I appreciated that. And I took that with me when I was fortunate to promote to master. I had that same approach when I was doing my daily checkouts and DOTs, just making sure I put my hands on stuff. And a lot of that came from my time with you.
Right. You know, one of the first things I learned in my career was send me to the worst station we got. Send us to, can I cuss a little bit?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Biggest shithole Montgomery County's got, but send me with good people. And that's what I mean by that dynamic at 6. And when you guys, Tony, you were at 7, the dynamic there. So it was a pride thing for us, Russ, when if we're checking you off and we're sending you to the academy, for the instructors to, check that paper, and for your officers to say, hey, get to it, man, you're wheeling a deal today. It was part of that dynamic, the dynamic of, when you were there at 7, I was talking about earlier, we had pride in ourselves. We had pride in our company. And when we were putting our name on you, Russ, it wasn't just, hey, Russell, Miles, it was, the guys from company 6 made you or helped you achieve this goal. So the first day when your officer said, hey, Russ, you're driving, if it came back to us, we felt jaded that we didn't do what we were supposed to do because you were there to train you to the level that you should have been trained to. And we would, obviously let you down. And we didn't work that way. We didn't think that way. We were like going to try to make you the best we can make you.
Yeah.
And I know you were also involved in the union for a little bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I did a little stint as a union rep, and I was an alternate to Chicago for one of the big things. But I was a union rep for a little while. It wasn't long, but
yeah. I just remember you doing that too, also. No.
So again, I mean, I think you were there, Tony. I don't remember, but my thinking, they give you a little stipend for gas or whatever. So what I did is I went into every shift, every station that was under me, and I took that money and I bought them breakfast, and I listened to what they had to say. Hey, what is happening out here in the field that I can take back to the union? One of the biggest things I got a lot of pushback on was, how they pick seniority. I didn't know the process, but that was a big thing. And I took it back to, to one of the meetings, and I got a lot of pushback on it. I was like, I just want to know how it works. How do I tell these guys how it works and why you came up with this system? And, there was a little bit of tension there with that. And I think that's when I said, you know what, maybe I'm not the right person for this position. So.
Okay, good. It's good. So you're at 6, and I know this is the tumultuous time in your life. You went through some periods there where your family had some illness in your family, and I guess your sisters. I'm gonna let you get into that. What exactly happened and what happened there? Because I definitely remember that.
So 2005, so let me back up. My parents had marriages prior to me, and combined, I had 7 sisters and 3 brothers. Some I've met, some I grew up with, some I haven't met. 2005, one of the oldest sisters was diagnosed with breast cancer, Vicky. And I was like, oh, you know how you get, man, my sister. Well, we really weren't close because of the age gap. In fact, I grew up with her kids. I was probably closer to her kids than I was her.
Okay.
And then, some time had passed. So she later on, I hear, well, Valessa's got breast cancer. Wow, that's just, you live your lives, you get in, again, not close to Valessa. And then apparently they ganged up on each other, on Penny the middle of the three sisters, and the one I was closest to, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Wow. And that one really hit me because Penny was more of a mother figure to me than my mom was. She did more raising of me than anything. A couple times I ran away. I ran to Penny's house. I was headed to PG County from Damascus. I never got there, but I was headed there because of Penny.
All right.
So Penny and Valessa both beat it. Unfortunately, it took Vicky's life. It was metastasized. It had metastasized, and it took her life in 2008. So again, being graced by God, I not only, because of the fire department, I was now in a career. I could afford my home. We bought a home in Martinsburg, West Virginia. But I was well into a marriage of the reason I get up every morning. And, I told her about Penny. We had the means. We had plenty of room. I said, Penny, come live with us. She was going through a divorce, a bitter divorce. I said, come live with your little brother. No strings attached, no rent, none of that. I want you to come in and I want you to get healed. I want you to get through this. So come live with us. I want to take care of you for a change. And my wife opened our doors. So that starts the journey of, hey, how do I cover my shifts and how do I be there for her when she goes to chemo or goes to radiation or goes to this doctor's appointment? So the fire department family, you folks came through, man. Not my shift, which I'll get into depth a little bit, but outside of that, I had folks when my officers requested work subs, I had folks that worked for me that I had no clue who they were. I'm like, I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
They're on 12C shift or 8A shift. I don't know who these people were, but they stepped up and the brother and the sisterhood came for me, together for me. So that allowed me to be there. As far as my shift, I owe them the biggest debt of gratitude I can possibly put into words. Since this has happened 13 some years ago, because Penny and Valessa both passed away in the summer of 2010, I've realized not just how bad of a shift mate I was, but just how bad of a friend I was. And they stuck with me. Jimmy Lanham, Tommy Grant, Dana Evans, Julio Falcon, Dan White. I'm telling you, Dan White was the rookie at the time. And remember the small tools, the mechanics had moved out to CMF. So the maintenance bay was open, and that was my small tools area. I was in there in a little office just pouting and being miserable, staying away from everybody. Mm-hmm. And here comes Dan, puts a plate of dinner on my desk and walks out, doesn't say a word. And I look back now and I'm like, wow. I was mean. I was separated from the shift. I thought I could do my job. I thought mentally I was there. I was like, hey, I need this distraction. I need to come to work. I'm that guy that's going to be boots on the ground. I had an incident. I was probably Julio's worst employee at the time. He had several chances probably to take my job from me, and he hung in there for me. And we'd gotten into a physical yelling match over something I can't even remember now. And he said the words to me I never thought I would hear in 31 years, because I was that guy there for you, was, I think I need to take you off the floor because I don't think mentally you're here. And that hit me. I cried a lot during those times. And for a 6'2", 300-pound doof like me, I mean, yeah, I thought I was there and I wasn't. But it was my shift. It was my shift that kept me going, kept my head above water. And at the time, I just didn't recognize it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, so the three sisters had passed away at the end of summer 10. And because we moved Penny in with us as a care provider and going to these doctor's appointments and these different things, And all of that stuff that was going on that I spoke about, when I talk about it, I say I was broken, and I didn't realize that I was broken. And as a care provider, I needed to heal. And one day I was leaving the parking lot to go home, and they were setting up a pit stop for a breast cancer walk that was in the area in our parking lot. Piqued my interest, and I went out, and I told the ladies my story about my 3 sisters. And I got hooked into what is called the pink bubble, the breast cancer bubble. And I've been doing that ever since. With a couple side notes. Do you want me to just go into it? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
So again, this started my healing process as a care provider and as a brother. And the more I did it, the more I healed, the more I wanted to do it. I'd ride my motorcycle in silly pink outfits that I would put together from Walmart. Just trying to encourage the walkers along. I went from walks from DC to Boston. I got involved crewing with a couple of different organizations. I did some local stuff, and I guess my shift mates saw how I was doing better, how I was healing with this, and how this was helping me get through this journey and become a better person, and actually get back to hopefully the Marshall that they knew when they first worked with me, not the asshole that I was. And I was a complete asshole. The vendor of our gear reached out to Captain Warden, my captain at the time, and said, "Hey, we have this Pink Fire gear. It's available." So they basically presented to me, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. So the morning that they had the presentation, the truck went out of service. We had to take it up to CMF, and I had Pat Smolsky. I forget who else was on there, but it was one of those things that had to go to CMF. And Captain Morton was very adamant. He says, "You guys got to be back here for this thing at 12." We called them. What do we call them back then? The dog and pony shows.
Dog and pony shows. Yeah, they still call them that.
6 was known for them. Well, we did them all the time. And it was just like, pick another station. So I got grumpy, and I was like, man, I can't believe this. I really. So we went up there, and he was like, if you have to bring a utility back, you're here at 12. So of course we got back in time. And I'm like, I'm joking, with them guys. Oh man, I'm gonna wear my uniform backwards, man. Screw this stuff, man. Why are we always, just being silly and being dumb? And of course we get back, and my wife is there, and I'm like, why are you here? And then of course the reporters start showing up. I didn't know what was going on. I was oblivious, but sitting there, and they do this presentation. Mark calls me up, and they did it in front of the DC media, where they presented me this actual.
Yeah, I think I saw that on TV. Yeah,
real stuff. Yeah. And it changed my life. So the DC media started referring to me as the Pink Firefighter and Pink Fireman. And I went on from there, and we started an organization in my sister's honor called 4-3 Sisters. And we took a lot of life lessons that we'd learned from, being that care provider for Penny. She couldn't get disability benefits because she owned a car, and they considered an asset. $900 car. It wasn't even that. She had to sell me. We sat in Department of Health and Human Services for 6 hours to be told, well, if there's any money left over at the end of the month, we will pay your $60, light bill, that kind of stuff. So we took those lessons, and we said, we can do better. We certainly can do better. And that was the basis to 4-3 Sisters. We've been at it for 13 years now. Been all over, been probably on every media outlet known. In fact, we did a thing. You were the safety officer, 32.
Yes.
32? Yeah. We're out there. I have some numbers. We're well over 300 patients, well over $300,000 worth of product, services, financial aid, you name it. Out of the box kind of stuff.
How did you get a pink fire truck? How did you swing that?
So that's another story. Everybody said a Pink Fireman needs a pink fire truck. And the batches, the 5 Pierces, the 2002 Pierces that came up, 7 had one. We had one. They had lived their life. They had served their purpose. I think I can't remember. They were being replaced, and so they went up. So I went to Chief Goldstein, and said, "Sir, would you donate me one of these engine companies that we could turn pink?" And there was talk about pink. We'd done the pink shirts, we started that. I was one of involved with some very great people that started that in the beginning. That was all had ties to breast cancer. I won't say her name, but even one employee who was a survivor was involved. But yeah, so they came up for auction. I went to Chief Goldstein. He wholeheartedly supported me. He took it all the way to the executive officer. I want to say on 3 that like it would come back down and go back up. Him and his staff were there for me. He wanted to donate me one, but under Montgomery County procurement laws, it had value and had to go to auction. So we said, okay. So we buckled down. My wife put her thinking cap on, and this was actually during COVID, and we bid on it. We got it really cheap. The others went for 3 or 4 times the price of what we got this one for. I go to pick it up during COVID, and it turned out it was engine 6.1, the very engine I put in service.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
That's
me, Polycoff.
crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think I was on C shift, so everybody. Yeah, it was me, Polycoff, and a couple other people put that unit in service, and I actually retired it. So how do you get your own fire engine?
That's kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
So this whole 4-3 Sisters journey. If you believe in a God and you want to call it God or the cosmos or the sisters, things have just happened and they fall into place. It's amazing how the community and stories. I could tell you stories like that all day long of how things have come together with this and whatnot. So
that is incredible. I mean, out of such unfortunate, tragic circumstances with your sisters has come such
Positive,
a positive, meaningful thing that it sounds like has impacted a lot of lives. So that's absolutely something to be proud for, and I know you are.
Thank you.
Just from an outside perspective, and that's amazing.
My wife does it all. I'm just the ugly face on the postcards and the business cards, and
that's awesome, man. So, kind of bringing the story back to you and your career. I know you're still working at 6, and I know eventually you got injured. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, November of 2011, I had came in late. I had taken a couple of hours off. I forget what it was for, but anyways, I came in late, and pretty much the second I was walking through the door, the bells went for an assist to help the ambulance at 11. And so I just jumped up in the tiller position, and under that driving initiative, there was, I don't know if you guys are still doing it now. Obviously, the masters were supposed to be the primary driver, and on the tractor drawn aerials, the tillerman it becomes the backup. So if the primary's off, the tillerman moves up, and then a certified driver becomes the tiller person. Well, I just jumped up in the tiller position, and we had a certified tractor driver at the time. It was actually a driver on another unit, but I think he was supposed to be on an engine. But anyways, I just jumped up there. So we go down Mass Avenue, and we go into the neighborhood. And for those who are listening to this that may not be familiar, so in Montgomery County, we have the speed bumps, which you normally see like at a Giant or a Safe. And then we have a speed hump, and it's a traffic calming device is what the county calls it. And it's long and laid out. And it wasn't marked. I don't fault him. It wasn't marked. And of course, we went in there, not at a high rate of speed, but I want to say 25-ish miles an hour, something like that. Yeah. Wasn't marked. And from the tiller position, by the time I saw the tractor do this, it was over with. Of course, sitting behind the rear wheels and steering on a box, basically with a little piece of cushion, what had happened was, I know I do it. I would put a little bit of slack in the seatbelt you could
turn and see.
Right. So a tillerman can actually turn and actually see. And I think everybody does that. So that little bit of slack, even though the clip would come off in a front collision, I don't know. Anyways, but what had happened was, because you're so tight in that box, the way I describe it is you put a box, you sit in it, put it on a diving board, pull that diving board all the way down to the water and let go of it. So I hit my head, I hit my shoulder. Wharton on the headsets. You all right? And at the time I was like, yeah, I am. And we drove maybe a half a block. They put the ambulance, put us in service. And in that half a block, my back was like, no, you're not. So I do everything I'm supposed to do. I go to Suburban. I get checked out and they say I herniated a disc, which puts me on light duty. Well, it turned out what had happened was I actually had spinal compression. So all the way from my cervical to my thoracic was compressed because of that. And I'm trying to give you a Reader's Digest or a short version of this, I guess. I'm showing my age there again, aren't I?
Reader's Digest.
I ended up having a total 1 cervical, 1 thoracic, and the rest were lower lumbar, where I had herniations, or what the county likes to refer to, protrusions. One of them was really bad. I went through, did everything I did. I tried rehab. I did work hardening. I did a test where I actually went in and they tested me to see if I could do things. And they didn't even know what firefighters did in this test. So I had to help them, picking patients up and putting them in a chair, picking them off the floor, those types of things. So that's when I was at CMF for 1.5 years. They put me there. I was in a position up there where I was moving apparatus because I could still drive. But predominantly I stayed in with Craig and helped with specialty parts and things like that, like restocking paints and fluids and what have you. And then I don't know if it's code or law or what, but our department, I'm pretty sure it's county, 300, according to our contract or this code, we as uniformed employees have 365 days to rehabilitate and come back on the floor. And if you can't, you will be retired. And that's what happened to me. Now, I tried to put in for a civilian position doing small tools with Kim Boswell, assisting her. And I wasn't allowed to put in for that position or whatever. But anyway, so I'm still up there. And because I didn't meet that criteria, I got retired. And of course, the way the county does it, this is the part I want newer folks to listen to. I had worked Monday. They called me on a Tuesday as I was getting off, actually. And they say, oh, we retired you Friday. Oh, thanks. Thanks for letting me know.
Wow.
So the communication, that kind of stuff.
Terrible.
Yeah, man, it's horrible. So I prepare myself. I go up to HR, and the second hardest thing I've ever done in my life was listen to the words, "You're done, Mr. Moneymaker, sign here." It was tough. So what they did is they retired me on 1 year temporary non-service connected disability. They said the accident didn't happen, or it wasn't a result of the accident. I'm sorry, that I had degenerative disc disease, and that was what my back was. So I knew other people told me, I've heard that the private eyes are out there, the investigators are watching and that type of thing. I didn't want to live inside. I didn't want to be a vegetable cooped up, hiding from everybody. Trying to make the county understand, me walking behind a self-propelled lawnmower on flat ground, walking my dog, has nothing to do with putting 35 pounds worth of protective clothing on, 35-pound SCBA, carrying 100 tools up 4 flights, 12 flights across a yard, running, trying to get to the fire. Those two are completely different from each other. I could not do my position as a firefighter, right? I had limitations. I couldn't lift more than 50 pounds. I can still do. I can't lift more than 50 pounds. I lift 49, but they're out there taking a picture of that saying, oh, well, you're lifting something heavy, or a video of that. They took a video off of YouTube where I was asked to speak on stage. And it was a motivational speech. It was at one of the walks, the breast cancer walks. And I said, I'm going to help you 25 walkers get across that finish line. Again, motivational speech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not physically carrying 2,500 walkers across the finish line. The lawyers doing their job and what they do, paint it to be something else. They have video of me setting up my tent, putting signs in the ground, light stuff that is not hard at different events and things, being the Pink Firefighter, which I swore I was never not going to be. It's not going to happen. I wasn't going to be it. So they have that video. After the year, I get a notice that says, we're denying the rest of it. You are not disability, or you are not disability. And that starts the spiral. Give me a second here. And the fight. So basically what it boiled down to was I wasn't getting any retirement because I don't meet the age requirement. I think I can draw my regular retirement when I'm at 70 something, 73 or something like that. I didn't have the time, 15 years. There was a bunch of other stuff. That basically I don't get that. And because they claim that I wasn't hurt on the job. I wasn't getting a disability. And remember, this was non-service connected according to them. So that money is coming out of my retirement account. The money that you paid. Into it.
Yeah, that you paid. Yeah.
For a year that I paid into it.
Yeah.
So then it starts the fight. So I go to the union and I'm like, what happens? I'm not an educated guy. Didactically, book smart. I'm not that guy. Again, we had the discussion. I'm mechanically inclined, so I don't process that stuff. I try to take my wife to help me through all that things. Now, also, let me back up. I hadn't had surgery. I did not want to be cut on yet. I wasn't that. Well, I felt I wasn't that bad. And if I talked to 50 guys, 49 of them said, "Don't get surgery. Hold off as long as you can." And of course, the doctors, well, you're talking around 59 guys or 41 guys, whatever. But anyways, so it begins the fight. The union pays for the lawyer to go up against the county to appeal this. And there's two ways at the time. I could have went before a jury, 12 people and a court hearing, or arbitration. And of course, I think arbitration is the easiest way to go. So I pick arbitration. Now, one of the lawyers representing me moved to Chicago. I forget what happened to another one. By the time I actually get to arbitration, it's almost 2 years, a 2-year gap.
Wow.
I get to pick. So you do arbitration in front of a panel. So there's a person that represents me. There's a person that represents the county and the arbitrator. The person that I picked to represent me did a phenomenal job, went to bat for me. But again, we didn't know what was going on. Am I allowed to ask this person? Am I allowed to ask questions? Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to do that? And no one gave that person any guidance. Sitting in arbitration finally. I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of guy, but if it quacks and walks and floats, the arbitrators were up for contract. The contract was being renegotiated. It was what I'd heard was the county had just got audited for giving out disability retirements, and they basically were just handing them out like candy. And when they got audited, they went, the county went completely the opposite direction and started denying all of them. And I was one of the first 4 or 5 cases. So we're sitting in arbitration. Before he starts the record, he looks at them and he said at the county lawyers and says, "We're not going to play this game where firefighters can take another position within the county. There are no positions comparable to firefighters in the county. We're not going down that road." Meaning I could have become a librarian, ride on a bus driver, whatever, and continued my career and put in my time. He says, "We're not doing that." So we go through arbitration. I tell my side, they tell their side. One of the things they do, you two are officers now. When I get hurt, what am I supposed to do?
Report to the officer, do a first report of injury.
Document.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple of injuries where I had received awards, but the majority of my documentation was exposures to blood or blood-borne pathogens, those types of things, or this was or that type of stuff.
Yeah.
They took, I want to say, or a hangnail or whatever. They took, I want to say, 12 or 13 of those and tried to paint it that I was a system abuser.
What?
Yep. You know what lawyers do? They play
Yeah.
their game. I get they're doing their job, but come on. And I get there's people out there bucking the system and trying to get $1. I get it. I'm not that guy, and I don't want to be a millionaire. It's not about the money. It's about what is right. Well, you know. And I've always tried to take the high road. I've always tried to be the person that if I believe in it, and I strongly believe in it, I'm going to fight that side of it. You know what I mean? And it's not the popular end of it. And I'm sure there's people that don't like me because they think I'm not that guy or whatever. But later in life, I've become that person where, hey, right is right, wrong is wrong, period. There's no gray, right? So it actually gets to the point after lunch in arbitration where the arbitrator stops and he says, do you want to hear from HR? Because I don't. Now maybe I'm just stupid. Me and my lawyer step outside. I said, hey, let's do the right thing. Let's take the high road, step back in. We hear from HR. And they start arguing this program, which if I was told, I don't remember it in 15 years. I didn't know it existed. So if we got injured, we could take another position within the county, as I explained. And I would say, I didn't, how am I supposed to know about this? How do I know it exists? And all the county HR could come back with, it's on the website. Okay, I get what you're saying. It's on the website. I should look for it. Who's educating me that it exists so that I can look on the website? It's on the website. It's on the website. I left there and I was fuming. I was fuming. Then starts, they're supposed to give you COBRA benefits within 30 days. I got my COBRA benefits packet 90 days after arbitration, which was 2 years, I believe. After I retired.
Yeah.
The decision sat on someone county's desks for 90 days, and under contract, we're supposed to get a decision in 30 days. And it came back, and here's where the duck quacks. The decision from the arbitrator was, because I didn't take a position within the county, I wasn't. He's denying my case, so the county won. You get that, right? You get that.
Wow.
Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of guy, but man, something just does not work right here.
Right.
Guys, I went to a dark, dark place, and because of the depression and because of the low self-esteem, there was a few months there that every morning I cocked the hammer, and the only reason I didn't pull the trigger is because of my wife.
Wow.
She helped me through. I'm talking dark, dark days, guys. Drinking and pill popping. I mean, I got low. I tried to think of people who to reach out to, and as self-defense, I think I reached out to him, but because of the way the union worked or whatever, because I wasn't on the job or something, I wasn't eligible to go through the union side of it and go down to where he went.
Wow.
Yeah. So I pulled myself out of it. I don't know how. I can't even remember, but basically I got out of it, and then started the workers' comp side of it. So the workers' comp side of it was, they gave me a payout for the initial injury. I'm trying to wrap this up. I know we're getting a little long.
No, you're good. You're fine.
Yeah, you're good.
They gave me a payout, and when the decision came down for me retirement, and because workers' comp and the retirement decision are separate, they're not interlinked anyhow. They stopped that payout and started giving me my retirement. So that's, let's call that basket A. So through the course of a couple of years or whatever, and going to different things, going to IMEs where the county's doctor doesn't even touch you. He just asks you questions. Again, we're a number. Listen to what I said out there, folks. If you're in the job and you're a number, and I knew I was a number, but I didn't realize what that meant. I'll come back to that. The county said that I basically had passed the 5 years and I hadn't worsened in that 5 years. So now I wasn't available for any benefits whatsoever. My lawyer wasn't taking no for an answer. So he fought him. Then he fought him through COVID. I forget the time frame, but it was a while. And it went all the way to the Circuit Court of Appeals.
All right.
And believe it or not, I actually set precedent. Marshall Moneymaker against Montgomery County. And the judge wrote a deposition or a paper on it, and he sided with me and said, you know what? No, you can't have both. It's one or the other. So what they did is they ended up resetting my clock for the 5 years. It went all the way back down to the Workers' Comp Commission, and had to go through a lot of hearings and more IMEs and what have you. And it finally worked in my favor. And they said, okay, well, they took time that I had been off of my job after the county, where I was driving a truck. And again, they take motorcycle riding, which I sold the motorcycle years ago. You know, being a truck driver, they took all that into account. They try to pour it on you, make you look like a criminal, make you look like a crook, make you look like the bad guy. But I ended up winning that case, and they owed me. I had to go to another IME, which they gave me my percentage rating. You guys are familiar with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I forget, but I was I was in the range of over 50% disability as it was according to those ratings. So this bumped me up to a higher bracket, which put me in a higher pay grade, so to speak. And the light of it is they owed me a bunch of money and they paid me.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that.
Appreciate it. However,
there's always a however.
They're appealing it. They say that my percentage shouldn't be that high. They want to take me to court again. And they want to say that any worsening than I do from here on out, the payout needs to go back into a credit to the county. Now, when I say dark days, guys, I mean, there's been a couple of hearings apparently that I've been at that I wasn't at. I don't want to hurt anybody, but I get messed up. And I don't even the court hearing. I don't remember any of it. Shannon says I was shaking and trembling, and what have you. And a lot of people have asked what trauma on the job hurt, I forget how Fez put it, but you know what I mean? What's troubling you now? What is that one call that messes with you?
Yeah.
And I can say I've seen some horrific stuff in 31 years and I can't think of one call. Well, there's a minor one where we'd ran a call with a lady. She was sick. I forget the medical term, but she had a baby. She was babysitting. Her level of awareness was, she just wasn't there, guys. And we pushed this lady to go to the hospital. And as I was the driver and as I was loading things up, I noticed there was two of everything. There was 2 car seats. There was 2 of this, 2 of that, 2 bags, blah, 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 blah. And it didn't sit right with me, but I didn't think through it. I didn't take the situational awareness, call for manpower piece, have the place checked. We did ask her if there was another child. She swore to us there wasn't. We transported her to the hospital. The hospital calls us. She has XYZ, and we saved her life. I get detailed at 16 that night. The battalion chief calls me and says, "Do you know you left a baby behind?" It took some professional help to get me through that a little bit. But again, I can't think of one traumatic thing on the job. I was great at it's a job. This life is gone in this accident. I need to focus on what we can do for this person that has hope. This person's burned. They're deceased. There's nothing I can do about it. So I never hung on to that stuff like Fez and the other guys. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I'm a different person. I don't know how, if I was taught or whatever, there's no trauma. I talk about this is my trauma and this is my PTSD. The way this whole thing went down, the way that my career ended and the dark hole that I went down, that's what hurts me. That's what makes me still, I don't cock the trigger, but I think about it. And if I get worked up telling this, in fact, I got a golden retriever. She's probably running around here, but she'll come to me and she'll push me and make me, get all, because I'm getting all worked up over this. And the people that I've talked to is like, dude, you have trauma, you have a PTSD. Again, it's not the actual job, but it's the whole thing of how it went down. I wish I could say it was great. I wish I could say it was, hey, I got what I was supposed to get, but
yeah, they kind of ran you to the ringer and you're on the other side there.
Yeah.
Are you getting therapy now? Are you seeing someone right now?
No, I'm not.
That's probably a good idea.
I'm not. Well, I had to go back to work because I'm not getting a retirement. So,
no, you're working again. Yeah.
I need to be out, I need to pay my bills. I need to be a productive member of society, so yeah, I don't have the benefits. I don't have,
you just can't pay for it.
Can't afford it. My wife pays through the state somewhere to get us, regular benefits and stuff, but yeah. Anyways, so here's another one real quick. This is why they're also denying is I was getting out of my truck the other day. Acute attack in the back to the point where I had to call 28, take me to the hospital. I spent 2 days in the hospital. Let me back up. I had eventually had surgery right after COVID. I was out a few months. I talked to some guys and I'd found a neurosurgeon in Rockville, and he cut on 2 discs and he did 2 procedures on those 2 discs. So he went in and shaved the disc and then opened up the area around the disc. And if you go on my Instagram account, you'll actually see the X-ray or the MRI where I had cord compression. Those 2 discs were literally pushing on the cord. And I was walking around looking at my feet. I was so bad. And then after surgery, I was like, I'm an idiot. I should have had surgery years ago. I'm such a fool. But I was getting out of my truck. This had happened. And of course, the county says, nope, it's a new injury. So the spine specialist there at Montgomery General through MedStar, he came in and talked to me and looked at all my scans and stuff. And he says, well, one of those discs is herniated again. It's touching the cord, or not touching, but it's close. I can't get the injections that I need. I can't, because the county's denied it all. And
so you got, is all this paid for through the county right now? It's not. It is. So it's all you.
The workers' comp paid for it because of that whole battle. They pay up to a certain point, but like this new attack, they're saying that's a new injury, so they're denying all that. So right now I'm sitting in pain, I take medical stuff, but I'm sitting in pain. I can't get an injection for or the surgery if I need it for this disc now. And through the discussion with him, I told him, I explained everything I explained to you during the accident. And he said, all of this is related to your accident. Every last bit of this is because of that spinal compression. He says, I can put my finger on it and say it's a result of that, which I wish I had him 10 years ago. But so yeah,
it's a struggle still every day now. Still.
It is, but you know what? There's people out there in worse situations than I'm in. I mean, we got members who have cancer.
Yeah.
I got a nonprofit that helps with cancer. Hey, my bills got to be paid. I'm gonna pull my boots up and go do it. I got next month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We got a big event we're putting together. I got to be there for people. Same thing in the fire department. Bells rings, man. We got to go. Okay. I ain't got time to worry about my woes and woe's me. We got to go. We got to get this done. So I guess that's where I am in my life. Is I'll deal with the court battle when the court date comes. But hey, let's get it done. So, and again, those loving eyes, I'm blessed more than I deserve. I got good people like you out there supporting me.
Why? Keep fighting, bro. Keep fighting.
Yeah, man. I'm very, very grateful that after
all
of that,
you have some positive.
Yeah, you've got something to help keep you going.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that you have to go through this, man. Like that's terrible.
I think of my shift mates often and how they hung in there for me when I was going through my sisters. I mean, seriously, not held me, propped me up, but held me on their shoulders through all of that. And I think I can get through this because I've been taught by good people like them. Again, Jimmy Lanham, Tommy Grant, Dana Evans, Julio Falcon, those folks. I think of them every day, and I owe them all apologies. So,
all right.
Nice.
No.
Do you get to talk to them much?
Not really. No, just you live life. You don't reach out. Just
yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing your own thing. Everybody is.
Yeah.
But if they hear this, I want them to know. Much love for all of you.
I hope they do too.
Yeah, man.
I hope they hear too.
So, I mean, with all of that, I mean, I know you've said how we're just a number, and like in a lot of ways, unfortunately, we are. But what's your message to younger people on the job listening to this? Or
well, first of all, take care of yourself. I mean, I was a healthy guy. I played ball, some softball and some stuff, rode motorcycles. I was never that guy that came to work and worked out. I was always under my apparatus, and that's on me. I should have worked out more. So stay healthy, take care of yourself. Listen to the folks who are above you, not only just, in rank, but in age, and prepare yourself for retirement. And what I mean by that is there's the financial aspect of it. Obviously, we need to put money aside. I wasn't one of those guys that did that. It's on me, but there's that financial aspect of it. But think about retirement down the road. When negotiations come up, everybody wants a raise. That's great and dandy. But think about, hey, I might make it another 20 years, or might not make it another 20 days. What can the union negotiate for me to fix? Is there still a Social Security gap? I don't know. You guys?
No, it's there is, but it goes up to 70 now. It doesn't.
Right. Hey, how about taking what the workers' comp end of it says and the retirements and joining them and doing away with this bureaucracy or what have you? So think of that thing. Just don't always think of the money. Hey, I'm getting a raise. But think about down the road, things for injuries, for the stuff like the heart and lung bill. All of that as a result of negotiations in the union. So all that stuff, the cancer bills. Think of that stuff as well as the financial side of it.
Yeah,
man, you're right. So now that you're kind of still going through this, but you've been going through a cycle here, but you've come out somewhat positive, and your arrow is definitely pointing north. So you're getting at it, you're motivated, and you're in for the long haul. So it doesn't matter to you. You're ready to roll. What do you think when you wake up every morning? I know you struggle. You wake up every morning and you see that guy in the mirror, and what do you say to that guy every day to get ready?
I knew you were going to ask me this question because I've watched the rest of them and listened to the rest of them. I can explain it this way. When someone's been told their entire life, especially their formative years when they're growing up, that you're not going to be anything, you're not going to be worth a damn, you're not going to amount to anything, and put that on impression, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to do what I got to do. I want my father to know that I did what he did when I was a kid. I got to go to work. I gotta take care of my family. But when you just have that, I don't see a good man. I don't think I'm a good man. And I don't think I ever will, guys, unfortunately. I just internally will struggle that I look at all my faults. I never look at my goods. I'm decorated. I look at all my faults. Letting my shift mates down. I don't see a good man. I don't see but that's just.
Yeah. Well, you got to see what everybody else sees. You got to see.
I try. I try. I appreciate it, but my wife makes me want to be a better man, And
There you
I've come some, I'm learning some Spanish because I work with some
go.
I'm
You're gonna
trying.
enjoy
I'm out
that.
of I'm out of my wheelhouse. I'm trying. I try to look at people for who they are as a human being, period. I try to be a better man. I try to be the best man I can. I try to, I'm not trying to make it a legacy or whatever. I just don't see the person I think I should see in the mirror, if that makes sense.
Well, it's a struggle, and me and Russ are not experts. We've heard a few stories, but we can only tell you what we've learned in this little bit of podcasting. And I can tell you what I've learned. Every day is a struggle for all of us out here, some more than others.
Hey,
but if you wake up in the morning, put your feet on the ground, you're winning, bro.
You know what? And you have a support system. The people that are on the job, you have a support system. Lean on your company, lean on your shift mates. And if there is help out there, get that help.
There is help out there.
You know what? You're not a sissy because you're 300 pounds, 6'2", and you're crying because of this. There is support, and lean on it. This is not a cliche. This is a family. There's people out there that'll take a bullet for you in a minute. There's people that won't, but there's people out there that'll take a bullet for you. My shift mates took bullets for me. And so lean on those people, lean on those resources, listening to what, the department and the department heads are putting in place for, wellness and all that stuff, the union. Listen to that stuff. I should be listening to it. So,
yeah. And I know, man, it's so easy for us to be our biggest critics and to only see the negative or the places where we failed or we think where we failed. But I mean, as I've told you, and I'll tell you again, I appreciated all of the times that I spent with you. I appreciated all of the conversations that we had. I appreciated how you showed me how to do the job, how to be a wagon driver. I appreciated that. And there's nothing wrong with asking people for help, as you know, and there's a whole slew of community within the fire service that is here for you. Even like you said, the people who did the work subs for you that you don't even know their name. If you need help now and you reach out, there's people that are willing to help. And you have my number. You can always call me. You can always reach out to me. And then there's people here for you, brother. So
absolutely, man. You're appreciated.
Thank you.
Understand that you have a positive influence on people. You do. I know you don't think you do, but believe me, it's real.
Yes.
Thank you. That means a lot. It really does.
Yeah. And if people wanted to get in touch with you or find out more about what you do with the Pink Fireman, with your association, how can they best do that?
So our nonprofit 43 Sisters, you can find on the web at F3, the number 3, 43 Sisters, F3S.org. It's that simple, F3S.org. We'll take you to our website. If you want to volunteer, if you want to help, I'll be looking for some wagon drivers, actually. If you have a CDL and you're interested in taking Vicky out to some events, I'm going to be vetting a few positions for that coming up. And all that stuff will be on there. Things we're going, where we're going to be, everything's on that website. Help, if you need help or you know someone who needs help, at no cost to them, please think of us first. Please think of 43 Sisters.
Gotcha.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
And if people want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Real simple, Pink Fireman at iCloud.com.
Gotcha.
Got you.
Well, Marshall Moneymaker, man, thank you for all that you've done. And even though the county may not be paying it back as forward, we appreciate all that you've done. Appreciate your service to the county, and just thank you for being you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it for the time you gave us to tell your story, brother.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. Be sure to check out our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Just search for the When the Smoke Clears podcast. Feel free to email us at whenthesmokeclears8@gmail.com. That's whenthesmokeclears and the number 8@gmail.com. You can also support the show by going to the website buymeacoffee.com/whenthesmokeclears and donating however much you'd like.